Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 9th of August and I welcome you all to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, in the today's video, we are going to discuss the entire analysis of Hindu newspaper. We'll take all the articles along with the background as well as way forward. And I would also like to tell you that you can download the explainer notes of this session from our Telegram channel. Here we have given the entire the PDF of explainer notes. Fine, you can follow it along with the video. The link for this Telegram channel is given in description box in YouTube. So from there you can download it. Now, moving on, guys. First of all, let's take the overview of entire newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are actually important for the exam. And this is very important because you need to understand how to skim the newspapers. Fine. Now, on first page, we don't have much important articles for the examination, just the advertisements, etc. And the political things have been given. Then moving on in the city section again, CM hands service vigilance department to Atishi files with LG. Nothing much important for the exam has been given here. So please skip this entire section. However, again, these tenders and all such things. However, here there is one article, issue norms for six selective surgeries. We'll take this particular article for the examination. Then after that, Defense Ministry to switch to locally built OS in computer amidst threat. So basically, guys, now understand this particular thing that we have seen that in the past few days there are multiple attacks that have happened, cyber attacks that have happened. For example, the ransomware attacks. Okay, so basically, Defense Ministry will switch to the locally built operating systems in the computers. Okay, so basically, for in this particular capacity, it will uh, it will replace the Microsoft operating systems. Okay, so that is about it. However, about beyond that, much important thing has not been contained here. Then reaching to editorial page, and on editorial page we have good articles. The grammar of commerce in the new age of geopolitics. We'll see this particular article. Climate events and umbrella for urban health. We'll see this particular article also. Now here side article. Haryana government cannot use riots as a pretext to demolish the Muslim homes. Okay, so guys, in the article, much substance has not been given for the exam. Now, falling short, the data protection bill continues to have deficiencies that need to be cleaning up. So basically, guys, we see this particular thing that when we talk about recent this data protection bill, it got cleared in the Lok Sabha, and now the bill will be brought into the Rajya Sabha. Now, the article is talking about that how in the bill there is so much of deficiencies that are there. However, I think in the past 1 week, at least two times or three times, we have discussed it. So, same thing have been repeated. Then, further moving on, learning from CHIPS Act of the US, we'll see this particular article for the examination. In Andhra, rich districts performed poorly on social indicators. Now, guys, understand this thing. This article is talking about specifically the Andhra Pradesh specific data. Okay, so out of pocket expenditure, Nellore, Krishna, Guntur region, East Godavari. For UPSC exam, guys, you are not required to go too much in detail in the district wise data. However, if you are preparing for Andhra Pradesh Public Service Commission, you can refer to this particular article, but for otherwise, article is not that much relevant. Then further moving on, guys, the text and the context section, it contains some good articles for our exam. What is Fitch's downgrade of the US? So basically, guys, what has happened recently? Basically the rating agency that is just a minute. Right. So the rating agency Fitch, it has basically reduced the credit rating of the USA. Okay, from double A plus to triple A rating has been reduced. Okay, so basically the article is talking about that why it has been reduced, how India, USA, sorry, will be impacted, and all such kind of things. Now, guys, understand this particular thing that if we see USA has faced a lot of economic issues in the last 2 years, particularly because their inflation was 45-year high in 40-year high in the 2022. After that, because of the Russia-Ukraine war going on, a lot of sanctions have been imposed on the Russia-based businesses, which also are impacting the USA's interest. Then on China also, the relations are not going good. So basically, guys, these issues have come here. Now, again, moving on, you are not required to go in detail in this particular article because India angle, if would have been there, that has been important. Otherwise, no need to go too much in detail in this. However, below we have article Jan Vishwas Bill. We'll see this particular article for the exam point of view. Then economic boycott of minorities. This article also will see with respect to the exam point of view. After that, guys, should constitution be amended to make Article 370 permanent? Right now, in the Supreme Court, the arguments with respect to the Article 370 that got diluted by the government in 2019, it is going on. Now understand this thing, when the final judgment will come, only then you should see this particular article. Till then, every day what debates have been made, every day what arguments have been made, you are not required to follow that. Then here we have one article, trial done in India shows nutrition support prevents TB related deaths. We'll see this particular article for the exam. Then we have these political articles, nothing important here. Then here we have one article, more study using smartphones, more students are using smartphone for entertainment. We'll see this particular article. Why no disaggregated data on tribal population? We'll see this article also. Then on the world page, largely we have the evolutionary art details. Fine, for example, Imran Khan disqualified for 5 years, man held for knife attack near British Museum. Much important things for the exam have not been given here. Moving to the business page, so here we have an article, fiscal firepower necessary to handle exogenous shocks. We'll see this particular article. Then we have largely these corporate trends and all such kind of things. Okay, and then we have the sports page. Okay, then guys, in the last science page, how did the dinosaur became the birds? Maybe the nose knows. Okay, now guys, understand this particular thing. This science page, though science page is important for exam, but very few days there are actually some good and relevant articles for the exam that are coming. Now, how we know which article is relevant for the exam? You have to see the previous year papers. So here they are talking about the specifically evolution of dinosaurs, how dinosaur became the birds, what is the role of the nose, how the evolution has happened. Nothing relevant in this article. I have read this entire article, but for UPSC exam specific dimension, nothing much important has been given in this particular article. So I will not advise you to go it in detail in this. Now, that is all guys about the overview of this. And now let's discuss all the relevant articles one by one in the detail. And I hope that you are understanding how to skim through the articles. Now, in every class, guys, we start with the GS quotation. And today we'll take the quotation from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar says, so long as you do not achieve social liberty, whatever freedom is provided by the law is of no avail to you. So basically, guys, there is a social liberty and then there is legal liberty. So if we see, guys, for example, fundamental rights are providing, basically, they are providing the freedoms, they're providing the liberty. Okay. But at the same time, if society doesn't give the social liberty, okay, if in society there will be the caste discrimination that will be prevailing in the society, if there is a racial discrimination, religious discrimination that will prevail. So in the case of the social discriminations, the social liberty will be impacted. And if there is no social liberty, then even the law cannot provide you any freedom. Okay, so the society has to give an acceptance to the people from different gender, different caste, different religion, different ethnicities. Only then the law will be able to provide you actual freedom. So without social liberty, the law is ineffective. You can use this particular idea with respect to GS paper number 2 polity as well as GS paper number 4 ethics. Okay, now starting with the first article for the today. Now guys, the first article, it reads, issue norms for sex selective surgeries on intersex infants. We'll see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 1 and GS paper number 2, social issues and social justice. Social issues and social justice. Now, first of all, guys, let me give you some of basic idea, which though you need to have for exam as well as to understand this particular article also. Now, guys, many number of times we use the word LGBT. Fine, LGBT. L stands for lesbians. L stands for lesbians. These are the women who have the sexual orientation towards the other women. We have then word G. G stands for gay. Gay are those men who have sexual orientation towards men. Then there is B. B stands for bisexuals. Bisexual are those people who will have sexual orientation towards the people of their own gender as well as the opposite gender. So, for example, a man having sexual orientation towards man as well as women, they are bisexuals. Then we have one word that is transgender. We have one word that is transgender. What is transgender? Transgender is any person. Transgender is any person whose sex and gender don't match. Whose sex and gender don't match. Now, sex is a biological term. Gender is a sociological construct. So basically, in terms of biology, a person can be male or female. Let's say a person was born as male. A person was born as male. Now, society expects that if you have been born as male, you have to behave like a man. Now, you have to talk like a man, you have to dress like a man, you have to behave like a man. Society expects. And if you are born as female, you have to behave like a woman. You need to speak like them, you need to talk like them, and everything like that. But some people, now, if a person is male and behaving like man, their sex and gender have matched. Society will accept that. But sometimes people have been born like as male, but they feel more comfortable in the behavioral patterns or personality of women. They might talk as society say women talk. They might dress as society say women dress, or their emotional behavior will be as society says is like of women. These people are called as a transgender. Understand this particular thing, guys. They don't have any biological anomaly, they don't have any hormonal anomaly. Just their personality will be tilted towards the other gender. Male, the personality will be tilted towards women. Females' personality will be tilted towards the men. These are the transgender. Then we have some other words also. Now you after this you will understand more better. Okay. So we have LGBT. Then there are Q. Q means cute. Q means queers. Queers are those people who question their identity. Then there is this word I. I stands for intersex. I stands for intersex. Now, guys, who are the intersex? Intersex are those people who have some biological anomaly, who have some biological anomaly. For example, their genitals are not properly developed. They have ambiguous genitals. There might be some anomaly in their chromosomes. So there is biological anomaly in intersex. Many number of times people confuse transgender with intersex, but no, transgender and intersex are not same. They are two different type of people. Okay, so intersex, so LGBTQIA, then there is A stands for asexual. Asexual are those people who don't have any sexual orientation. So I hope first of all you have understood what is the difference between LGBTQIA. Now, what this particular article is talking about. So this article is talking about regulating the sex selective surgeries in the intersex infants. Now, who are intersex? Intersex are those who have ambiguous genitals, whose genitals are not very clear to tell that whether a person is a man or sorry, whether a person is male or whether a person is female. Now, guys, understand this particular thing. Many number of times, children are born and they don't have very clear genitals, ambiguous genitals. And in that particular case, what happens? The parents of these children, they insist that the genital reconstruction surgery should be carried. And in this genital reconstruction surgery, what will happen? A person's genital will be reconstructed to ensure that the person doesn't stays as intersex. A person becomes aligned to the normal gender or sex that the society has. So for that particular thing, sex intersex infants, sex selective surgeries are done. Now, in this particular direction, the Kerala High Court has given one particular judgment. And Kerala High Court provides that these particular kind of surgeries are to be regulated. And for that particular thing, Kerala High Court has provided that we will establish state level multidisciplinary committee. State level multidisciplinary committee, and the state level multidisciplinary committee will advise that whether the sex reconstruction surgery is to be done or not. Okay, so it has been provided that this committee will decide that whether the child that has been born, will he face some life-threatening situation by the ambiguous genitalia? Will that particular child be facing some another biological problem if because of under not proper developed or ambiguous genitalia? If yes, then this committee will give approval and only then the sex reconstruction surgery can be done. Now, Kerala High Court has provided that many number of times when these surgeries are being done, it violate the child's dignity and privacy because many number of times without the consent of the child, their parents do this particular kind of surgery. So it impacts the child's dignity as well as privacy. Moreover, guys, it has also been provided that in the later words, this particular thing can create social problems for the child. How? Now listen very carefully, this particular thing. Now, if you remember, guys, I explained you that there is concept of sex versus gender. Fine, we have discussed that there is a concept of just a minute, sex versus gender. Now, let's say a person was intersex, born as intersex, means his genitals were not properly developed. Now, as his genitals were ambiguous, family thought that he actually should be male. And through the sex reconstruction surgery, his genitals were developed like as a male. But later would suppose the child developed the personality of a woman, but his genitals are like male. How you will resolve this particular dilemma? So this problem could happen. Might be a person develop a personality orientation towards different type of gender, that problem can emerge. So the court says this particular thing that giving the permission today for reconstruction of sex might result in emotional and psychological issues on attaining adolescence when if the child developed orientation towards the gender other than to which the child was converted through the surgical intervention. So this problem can also come. Now, also the Kerala High Court has provided that already there is the Transgender Persons Act. So we have Transgender Persons Act 2019 to give rights to the people who are intersex, lesbians, intersex, transgender, all. So there is Section 2K of Transgender Persons Act, which provides that even the people with intersex variations, they will be provided all the safeguards, they will be provided all the rights. And Section 4 very clearly provides that every person has a right to have a self-perceived gender identity. Whatever gender identity they want, they can have that. So later parts of the life also, if a person wants, can go for the sex reconstruction surgery. Parents should not hurry and go for the sex reconstruction surgery the moment a child is born or a child is infant, because these issues might come, and now they are to be regulated by this multidisciplinary committee who will only give the permission. So I hope, guys, that you have understood this entire issue. And now moving to the next article. What is Jan Vishwas Bill 2023 proposed by the center? Now, guys, we'll see this particular article with respect to GS paper number 3, ease of doing business in India. Ease of doing business in India. And guys, if you remember on this particular line in the past, also the articles have come. We have seen it also. Okay. So, moving on in this particular direction. Just a minute. Okay. So basically, guys, the article is talking about the Jan Vishwas Amendment of Provisions Bill 2022, which have recently been passed. Now, this particular bill actually amends 42 laws in India. Okay. And if I give you the example of some of the laws which will be amended by it, it is, for example, Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940 will be amended, Food Safety and Standards Act, Pharmacy Act, then the Forest Act, Air Act. Many acts will be amended by this Jan Vishwas bill. 42 laws will be amended. Now, first of all, question number one. Question number one. What is the intention of this particular bill? So basically, guys, this particular bill wants to improve the ease of doing business in India. How it wants to improve the ease of doing business. Now, basically, guys, many number of a times when you don't comply with any particular act, there could be punishment that can be given. There could be punishment that can be given. For example, if you cut the forest and you retrieved the jadi booties, Ayurvedic herbs from a forest without taking the permission, then there could be the fines, penalties, even the jail term that can be imposed. Similarly, guys, under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, Food Safety Act, Pharmacy Act, if any violation has been done, a person could be punished by jail term as well as a fine. This is something that actually can happen. Now, guys, it is provided that number one, jail term is there. Number two, in these particular violations, the 42 laws will be amended. So, in these 42 laws, if the violation has been done, then actually the court then actually the court will decide the matter. And when the matter reaches the court, it becomes a very tedious process. For years and years, the case is going on. Now, basically, bill, by this Jan Vishwas bill, government number one aims to decriminalize a lot of these activities. A lot of the violations will be decriminalized. Means, if you violate provisions under these 42 laws, jail term will not be there. Just fine will be imposed. Just fine will be imposed. But however, fine can be more. Second thing, court rather than deciding this. Basically, there will be the senior level bureaucrats who will decide these particular matter so that the matter is decided in less number of time. Now, as jail term is being reduced and as the court's power, as rather than the court, senior level bureaucrats will decide the matter. Basically, what will happen, the ease of doing business will improve because many number of times, guys, when the commercial disputes are there, giving jail term doesn't makes a good impression for India as a business destination. And secondly, when the court cases hang for long, also again it impacts the dispute resolution capacity or dispute resolution image of India. So by this Jan Vishwas bill, it is being said that ease of doing business will come in India, and it is amending these 42 laws. Now, activist has expressed concerns on this particular thing. Now, this particular article is specifically talking about the amendment that are being proposed in the it is talking specifically about the amendments that are being proposed in the Drugs and Cosmetics Act of 1940. Now, when we talk about, guys, the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, this particular act regulates the import of drugs, manufacturing of drugs, distribution, and sale of drugs and cosmetics in the country. Now, many of the violations here are being decriminalized, and just the fine will be imposed. Now, the this particular Drugs and Cosmetics Act provide for four categories of offense, four category of violation. Number one, adulterated drugs. Okay, now what is adulterated drugs? Let's say in drug, chemical X and Y was to be used, but that has been adulterated. Some inferior quality of thing have been added. Then spurious drugs. Spurious drugs are actually the fake drugs. Then mislabeled drugs. For example, on paracetamol, you write cetrazine, mislabeled drug. Then the drugs that are not of standard quality, drugs not meeting the standards. These are the four type of offenses under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. And if any violation happens, if any one of the four violation or all of the violation happens, there is a punishment of prison, jail as well as fine. There is jail as well as fine. Okay, now basically, by this Jan Vishwas Act, the jail term will be replaced by the fine. And the activists are saying that this is actually a problematic thing. How it is a problematic thing? Basically, guys, already if you know, India's India's drugs, particularly cough syrups that are being exported by India to other countries, they have come under sharp criticism, particularly by the WHO also. Guys, if you remember, even the yesterday's article also, if you remember, even the yesterday's article also, there was one article I will just show you from the yesterday's newspaper. Okay, okay, yes. So this is the article that came in the yesterday's newspaper. And if we read the article says Indian made syrup found contaminated in Iraq. Now, guys, such kind of incidents have happened multiple number of times. Last year in Gambia, in Central Asia, many of the children consumed Indian-made syrups, and many of them died because of the kidney failure. Point because they were adulterated, substandard quality of cough syrups were exported. So point is that these particular things are actually impacting the India's credibility as the pharmacy of the world. Now the activists are saying that further you are decriminalizing a lot of offenses. Basically, it will not act as a deterrent on the pharmaceutical companies. They will make substandard quality of drugs and it will impact Indian pharmaceutical sector. Now, the activists are saying that many number of times manufacturers make not so standard quality drugs, okay, and often they because there are the penalties, even then they are making this particular things. Okay, now if a drug is not having the ingredient that needs to be there, what will happen? It will fail to dissolve the problem for which the disease it will fail to dissolve the problem for which the drug was being given. And then the person might face the fatality, person might face further illness or all such kind of things. So point is that this bill reduce the penalties for the owners of the pharmacies or who will violate these particular kind of things. And by this particular thing, a culture for impunity will be developed. Culture of impunity means a sense develops that people think whatever they do, they will not be punished. This is something that will happen in long term. It will impact the India's pharmaceutical credentials. It has been said that already there are the scandals linked to the made in India medicine. For example, I showed you the Iraq example. These are coming. Now, why government has done this particular thing? Government says that we are actually improving the ease of doing business in India and particularly for the drug sector. They say that India is the pharmacy to the world and we have to work towards ensuring the best medicines are provided at reasonable cost. We need to rationalize law, we need to eliminate barriers, and we need to create the condition for growth for business, including for the pharmaceutical business. That is something we have to do. And for that, we are rationalizing the law. But it might work counterproductive. It might work antithetical. These are all the problems that might come. Okay. Now, guys, moving to the next article. And guys, if you are liking the video and if you think that the effort that we are putting is helping in your preparation, please do hit the like button to the video because by that you can support our initiative. Trial done in India shows nutrition support prevents TB related death. We'll see this particular article for GS paper number 2, issues related to health. Issues related to health. Now, moving on, guys, in this particular article. So basically, when we talk about TB, when we talk about TB, tuberculosis, okay. So basically, when we talk about TB, guys, TB has been a big disease. Basically, TB has been a disease which is leading to a lot of fatalities in India, and India has one of the highest burden of TB in the world. Now, guys, when we talk about the TB, okay, when we talk about the TB, so TB is a disease. TB is a disease which is caused due to the bacterial infection and mycobacterium, mycobacterium, mycobacterium tuberculosis is responsible for the TB disease. And when we talk about TB, okay, what happens? India has taken the target that by 2025, we will eliminate the TB from India. According to the Sustainable Developmental Goals, 2030 is the year by which the TB is to be eliminated, but India will have taken the target that we will eliminate TB by 2025. And for that particular thing, India has also started TB Mukt Bharat Abhiyan. TB Mukt Bharat Abhiyan. Okay, this is something that we have done. Now, this is something additional information that you need to know. Now, guys, basically, when we talk about the TB, I told you India has one of the highest burden of TB in the world. And if I give you the data according to the Global TB Report 2022, according to Global TB Report 2022, India accounts 28% of the TB cases in the world. And for that particular thing, we are also giving the DOTS therapy to the people who are suffering with the TB. But recently, one study has been conducted, and this study has been published into the Lancet Health Report. And according to this particular study, it has been said that there can be a very cost effective intervention which can be used to reduce the TB mortality, TB infection in India. And what is this cost effective solution? Cost effective solution is simply give the people adequate nutrition. Give the people adequate nutrition. So, according to a trial that has been conducted in the Jharkhand between 2019 to 2022, it has been provided that the households which have been given proper nutritional supplementation, the households which have been given proper nutrition, these households have reduced the prevalence of TB in the household contacts. Now understand this thing. Suppose this is one household and there is a person, Mr. A. Now Mr. A has a TB. Okay, and in this home there are four other people also live. There is a possibility that from Mr. A, the other people can also get that TB. But if good nutrition is being provided to all, these contacts will not get TB. And even this person, Mr. A, who already got the TB, his mortality rate might be brought down, fatality might be reduced. Now, if I give just you the data, then guys, it has been provided that 39% reduction in all the form of TB has been observed just by giving good nutrition to the people. So, as the part of this particular trial, what happened for 6 months, the households they were given 5 kg of rice, 1.5 kg of pigeon pea tur dal, and micronutrient pill. And it was found that it was basically this nutrition was given to the adult. Children below the age of 10 years, they were given the half of this particular nutrition. And by that, the people, by giving this nutrition, people, they got less TB, less people contacted TB. People who already had TB, fatality was less in them. Now, when we talk about TB, guys, it has been provided that if a person gets TB, he loses the weight fast. And if a person's weight go below 35 kg, then there is high prevalence that that particular person will face mortality. If we take the data, then according to the studies conducted by NIRT Chennai, it says that the people who weighs less than 35 kg and have TB, they have 4 times higher mortality. But the people weighing more than 45 kg, their mortality is very much less. So basically, guys, for that particular thing, giving good nutrition to people can contribute in increasing in their weight, and by that, automatically their mortality rate will go down. And if people have good nutrition, they can fight the TB. They will not get the TB infection, or even if they have got, the TB will not manifest in some kind of a potential TB. Okay, so this is about it. Now, basically, it has been provided that severe undernutrition is a biggest contributory causes of death in the case of TB patients. Okay, and it has been provided that giving good nutrition is similar to giving a vaccine for TB. Okay, this is such a big thing. And it has been provided that TB undernutrition account for 40% of new TB cases every year. So 40% of new TB cases are coming because the people are undernourished. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that already now some additional information we will take. See, already India is having the National Food Security Act, under which 66% of the people are being given subsidized food grain, 3 rupee kg rice, 2 rupee kg wheat, and 1 rupee kg coarse grains. By the way, for 1 year, government will not take even 3 rupee, 2 rupee, 1 rupee. But usually, under the National Food Security Act, at subsidized prices, food grains are given. So we need to make our National Food Security Act even more effective. We need to add right now. You are giving rice, wheat, and coarse grain. All are the good source of carbohydrates. We need to add protein component, fat component under the National Food Security entitlement. That will not be only be fulfilling the nutritional security of India, rather it will also be helping to fight with the TB. So this is a very good dimension that have come here. Please use these new kind of dimensions for the examination. So that is all about it. I hope you have understood it. And now moving to the next article. There is one comment that is there, and this is a very good question. I want to address all of your doubts with this. Sir, please cover articles from other newspaper also. Please cover article from other newspaper also. Now, guys, understand one particular thing that the newspapers, you have multiple options. You have Indian Express, you have the Hindu option, you have Times of India. Guys, see, it's not the case that in Indian Express entirely some different news will be there. The Hindu something entirely different news will be there. Understand this particular thing, guys, that the UPSC asks the question on the basis of the issues. They will not ask the question that okay, on the 8th of August, what was news was given on the page number 9 of the Indian Express newspaper. Understand, major issues are asked in your exam, be it prelims, be it the mains. And major issues will be covered by all the newspaper, including Hindu, Indian Express, Punjab Kesari. Everybody will cover that particular thing. Understand this particular thing, guys, that UPSC aspirants, most of the times there is a misguidance going on in the market that you have to read 4 papers. Understand this thing, you cannot do that particular thing. And even if that is not required, follow one newspaper diligently, because if you are doing that particular thing, all the major issues anyhow you will cover. Only editorial section is different. Other things are same, more or less same. Even if it has not come in one newspaper today, it will come by tomorrow, maybe in text and context or in the editorial or in the opinion page, anywhere. So please don't have this FOMO, fear of missing out, that I have to cover four papers. Understand this thing. Only current affairs is not the thing that you have to do the entire day. You have to do your optional, you have to do your answer writing, you have to do your GS coaching, your GS classes, you have to revise. All these things have to be done. So this is the biggest misconception going in the market, that you have to read the four papers, read and only one newspaper. Are you getting it or not? But do it diligently. Aspirants, they will read three newspapers for 5 days, and then they will not read even a single newspaper for 30 days. And never their command over the current affairs will be good. And then they wonder why. Read one newspaper for 2 months regularly, and you will see you will have far better command on current affairs compared to 99% of the UPSC aspirants. So understand this particular thing. We have learned this lesson after after a lot of after a lot of struggle that we have made. So please understand that particular thing. Moving to the next article. Economic boycott of minorities, a new form of untouchability. Now, basically, guys, we'll see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 2, social justice. GS paper number 2, social justice. Guys, understand this particular thing. This article is just to be seen as per academic understanding. Don't attach any sentiments of religion in this, because you are a UPSC aspirant, and for an administrator IAS, he doesn't have any religion. Clear? He has only one religion, and that religion is of humanity. That religion is of constitutional morality. No other thing. Okay. Recently, what has happened in the Haryana's Nu region, there are the communal rights that broke between the Hindus and the Muslim people. Now, there are many of the dimensions of the stories that are getting opened up. Who is to be blamed? But that blame game, we don't need to go for our exam point of view. Guys, understand this particular thing, that this is my personal opinion. You may not agree with that. And I even don't insist that you should agree with this particular thing. But guys, understand this thing. Whenever there is a religious dispute that happens, there are few people on the different sides who are responsible for their riot. These people start a riot and then they go to their safe places. They don't get hurt. Nothing happened to them. Who are the people who are actually becoming the victim of these riots? A vegetable vendor, a rickshaw puller, a person who is making his livelihood, who is a laborer. These kind of people from both the sides, they get impacted. Fine. Understand this particular thing, guys, that the people who are committing the riots and the people who are starting the riots, these are the miscreants who simply don't have any faith even in their own religion. But the riots take toll on the life of the innocent people who have nothing to do with that. Simply, incidentally, they were born in a particular religion. They are targeted. These people are killed. That is something that happens all the time. Now, basically, what has happened in the aftermath of this particular dispute that started, the calls have been made to boycott the Muslim businesses. The calls have been given. Many of the panchayats, they have issued a resolution also that we will not allow the Muslim hawkers to come in our village. Now, is this particular thing right or not? Just academically, we'll understand this particular thing. Basically, it has been said that this thing is a kind of another type of untouchability. And this kind of untouchability is going on since independence, and it has been flagged by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. It has been said that often out of expressions of hate, on the lines of people, on the lines of religion, people will be boycotted. And this is a new type of untouchability that has developed. And now the need has come that we need to re-articulate the concept of untouchability. We need to reread the anti-discrimination laws that are there in India. And on the lines of religion also, the anti-discrimination laws are to be refined. They are needed to be reinterpreted. It has been said that when we talk about the untouchability as a concept developed out of the hierarchical caste-based Hindu social order. So basically what happened when we talk about the Hindus, So first the concept of Varn came, then the concept of caste came. And as this concept of Varn and caste, the Hindus, they have a particular hierarchy. And in this hierarchy, Dalits are the one who come at the lower part of the hierarchy. And there was the idea of purity and pollution. It was said that the people at the upper part of the hierarchy, particularly the Brahmins, they are the pure. Dalits are the polluted. Therefore, the Dalits should not come in the contact of the higher caste people, they will pollute them. Out of this purity and pollution concept, the untouchability was born. And it has been said that deliberately the untouchability has been resorted over so many of the years just to maintain the hegemony of the upper caste and to reinforce reinforce the subordination of Dalit people. Now it has been said that often economic boycott of the Dalit people was also done. Whenever the Dalit people will go beyond what is mandated, when they will go beyond what is allowed to them, there will be the economic boycott of these people that will happen. And according to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, this economic boycott is actually even more effective than open violence. This becomes a collective discrimination and leads to disempowerment of any person who doesn't follow the caste rules. Now, it has been said that these kind of economic boycotts earlier happened against Dalit people and they were effective. Why they were effective? Number one, because Dalits always constituted a minority within a village most of the times Dalit were a minority in a village. And secondly, they were also the economically weaker. So therefore, on them, these boycotts happened. Now, when we got independent, through Article 14, 15, 17, we tried to tackle this discrimination and untouchability. Particularly Article 17, untouchability was provided, abolition of untouchability. But up till now, the definition of untouchability has remained vague. But people have a consensus that wherever a purity and pollution comes, there the untouchability comes. But still, we see untouchability only in the context of religion. And for the untouchability and discrimination, we have Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act, Maharashtra Protection of People from Social Boycott Act. But the scope of these particular act is restricted to caste-based discrimination. But religious-based discrimination, religious-based boycott, we don't have any rule, any law. The article is saying that Muslim economic boycott has to be tackled if we want to ensure the idea of fraternity is fulfilled, which is given in the Indian Constitution. So for that particular thing, measures have to be taken immediately. This is all what the article is talking about. Okay, that is about it. Now moving on into the next article. Where can we use bills without becoming an act that are passed on house? Is there any validity? See, the bills that we are discussing, they are more likely to become act, and even they have become act. Okay, so simply if there is a bill, fine. That every bill is not important, but some bills, even in the format of bill or even if they become act, are important. Climate events and an umbrella for urban health. Now, the article will see with respect to the GS paper number 3, environment. Okay. So basically, guys, over the years, we have seen that there are the extreme climate events that have come forward and they are impacting the urban areas more. Now, the article saying that according to a recent study that was published in the Indian Journal of Public Health, this particular study highlights that the household in the urban India, particularly the people living in the slums in the urban India, these households are more vulnerable to malaria. During the monsoon season, malaria becomes a problem for all the people in the village as well as urban India. But in the urban India, people living in slums where proper drainage sanitation is not there, these are more vulnerable. Okay. Now, post monsoon season, we see that the water and vector-borne disease, they become a very big problem. And for that, we need to have a systemic and coordinated approach, not only within a state, but between the states also. So between the states, people are migrating from one state to another state. Okay. And particularly when people are migrating, migrant people reach to the urban centers. So there, malaria control, vector-borne control, disease strategies need to be there. And for that, there is need. Number one, we need to build the urban primary healthcare systems so that the moment a person gets malaria, dengue, etc., they can be treated immediately. Then this particular system needs to focus more on the vulnerable urban population, particularly the people living in the slums region. Now, for this particular thing, secondly, finance has to be given. Okay. So there is secondly a need to create a special fund. Special fund. So finance commission can recommend the money for such special fund, and by that money, especially in the people in urban areas, slum regions, the attention is to be given. The article thirdly say this particular thing that after the COVID-19 pandemic, we have understood that coordination and cooperation is very much different. Among us, the different departments, knowledge sharing, data sharing needs to happen for effective health response. And for that particular thing, even into the health departments, different state health departments, sharing of information needs to be there. And fourthly, the article is recommended that there should be an integrated disease surveillance program that needs to be universalized, in which the data can be that can be added by the panchayats, by the district, by the state, by the union. And on the basis of this particular data, we need to see that how the diseases are unfolding and how they are impacting the people. Now, learning from the CHIPS Act of the US, we'll see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 3. GS paper number 3, issues related to Indian economy. Now, basically, guys, this particular article is talking about the United States, United States CHIPS Act 2022. Now, this CHIPS Act stands for Creating Helpful Incentive to Produce Semiconductor and Science Act 2022. Now, under this CHIPS Act, USA has kept a budget of $52.7 billion over the next 5 years to boost the competitiveness of America in the semiconductor industry. Now, under this particular CHIPS Act, the America have created four separate funds which will promote the semiconductor manufacturing in America. Now, guys, India also has come out with the semiconductor mission, but as per India's semiconductor mission, we have just given 76,000 crore rupees, which is 1 billion. Okay, but America has given 55 billion. So first of all, India's 1 billion, America's 55 billion. America has given a lot of money. We have not given that much money for our semiconductor mission. Secondly, when we talk about the America's semiconductor mission, that is the CHIPS Act, it has envisaged cooperation and coordination between the multiple arms of the government. But in India, the semiconductor mission is just being taken by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Okay. Now, when we talk about the meaty, it is only taking up the manufacturing, assembly, display, all everything of the semiconductor. We have come out with the independent division under the Ministry of Information and Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, and that uh, wing is called as the India Semiconductor Mission. Now, the article says that we need to learn from USA and we need to bring multiple departments and ministries together so that all can come and coordinate on the semiconductor manufacturing. The next, it has been provided that in USA, the companies who want funding under the CHIPS Act, they have to submit their workforce developmental plan to the National Semiconductor Technology Center, which has been created. It will collaborate with industry, educational institution, etc. Now in India also, we have come with the CHIPS to Startup program, and it will collaborate with 100 universities and college. But guys, understand at the same time that apart from these universities and college, many chip designers are outside the conventional university. Many chip designers are outside the university. How we reach them? For that, there is no focus in India, but in America, it is there. Then next, under the CHIPS Act of USA, there will be the CHIPS Program Office, which will lay down the guideline for assessing the financial viability of a project. Suppose I came with a project and I will go to the US government and give me a funding of $5 billion. I will develop a semiconductor facility. They will study my plan and will see whether it is financially viable or not. Now, India also has the guideline for assessing the viability of proposal, but there is the problem with respect to the transparency, whether in transparent manner the viability study will be done or not. But in USA, they are hiring investment principals, financial structuring directors, and in very transparent manner they will do this particular assessment. The next, US CHIPS Act is not just about bringing semiconductor manufacturing to the USA. Rather, they are working on entire science overhaul of USA, R&D overhaul of the USA, which will give a competitive advantage to USA in the future. But we are just concerned on the semiconductor. So this is something that needs to be seen. The grammar of commerce in the new age of geopolitics. Now, this particular article, guys, will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, International Affairs, India, Russia. India, Russia. Now, guys, this article is talking about the India-Russia trade in the last 2 years. So basically, guys, you already know this particular thing that Ukraine-Russia war started, and after this, a lot of countries of the West, particularly the USA, imposed sanctions on the Russia. And that particular sanction impacted Russia as well as India. Now, as sanctions have been imposed on the Russia, we can also not use the dollar for trading with the Russia. We cannot use the dollar for trading with the Russia. But at the same time, Russia is a very big exporter of crude oil to India. How that particular thing will be done? For that particular thing, guys, India and Russia agreed on rupee ruble arrangement, on the rupee ruble arrangement. Under this rupee ruble arrangement, what will be done? There will be the rupee Vostro accounts that will be opened in Russian banks by the authorized dealer banks. Let me give you a very simplified explanation of this rupee ruble arrangement. So basically, what will happen? Specialized Vostro bank accounts will be opened. Now, Russia is exporting oil to India. Now, India will pay in terms of rupee. India will pay in terms of rupee. And when India will export wheat to Russia, Russia can pay back in same rupee to India. And even Russia can pay to India in form of ruble. We will use the same ruble when we are importing anything from the Russia. So rather than using the dollar, rupee and ruble will be used. Now, this is something that happened. This arrangement was carried and it will be carried through the Vostro account. Okay. So these are the specialized accounts. Fine. So what is a Vostro account? It is an account that a domestic bank will hold for a foreign bank. Indian bank will hold for a foreign bank, that is a Russia's bank. And in that, the money will be deposited. Now, this arrangement was working fine initially, but actually, when we talk about India Russia, there is a lot of trade deficit between India and Russia. We imported lot oil with the Russia and we give a lot of rupee. Now Russia has excess rupee. Russia cannot use that particular rupee anywhere else. So both the countries decided that they will rather switch to the Chinese yuan. They will use the Chinese yuan. Now, guys, what is happening? Now the settlements is being given to the Chinese yuan in the way of Chinese yuan. But understand this thing. On one hand, we are boycotting China. But at the second hand, we are giving the Chinese currency. We are buying the Chinese currency and giving to the Russia. So this is something which actually comes a fundamentally problematic thing. We many number of times, particularly in the context of BRICS, many number of times there have been opposition to usage of the Chinese yuan, but now we are doing it. Now, guys, at the same time, similar arrangement India has taken with other countries also. For example, with the UAE, we have done the same arrangement. Now, when we'll trade with the UAE, we'll not be paying in dollars, but rather we'll be paying in our own domestic currency. Okay. So this is all about this particular article. Now, why no disaggregated data on tribal population? Asks House panel. So, guys, much important substance is not there in this article. So, basically, a parliamentary committee on the empowerment of women, it has asked the question from the government that why you don't have disaggregated data on the health condition of the tribal population. What is a disaggregated data? Disaggregated data is the data that has been broken down minutely. The data that has been broken down minutely. For example, children between the age of 5 to 9, children between the age of 9 to 14, 14 to 18, and likewise. What is the anemia status? What is the status with respect to their hemoglobin? Fine. What is their status with respect to weight, height, all these things. So specific age-wise, specific region-wise, having the disaggregated data. That is the disaggregated data. So it has been provided that when we talk about the tribal people in India, they are facing many problems. For example, tribal women and tribal men, they are facing problem. They have sickle cell anemia, leprosy, fine, tuberculosis, cholera. All these problems impact the tribal people. And out of 1.5 crore tribal people, 10.5 lakh people are the carrier of the sickle cell disease. Sickle cell disease. We don't have broken down data about these people. So why the data is not there? This question has been raised. Then, more student using smartphone for entertainment than study, and UPSC's parent knows that thing. So recently, guys, what has happened? The state of there is the state of elementary education in rural India report that has been released. Now, this report is conducted by Development Intelligence Unit, which is a collaboration between Transform Rural India and Sambodhi Research and Communications. So these organizations have conducted this State of Elementary Education in India report, and this report has surveyed the parents and communities across the 21 states and have found that children are using smartphone not for downloading study material but for playing games and all such kind of a thing. And according to this survey, 49.3% of students in rural India, they have access to smartphone, but 76.7% are using them just to play the video games. Only 34% use them for downloading the study material. So this is just some data that can be used with respect to the digitization of education. Okay, that is about it. Fiscal firepower necessary to handle exogenous shocks. Basically, guys, the finance ministry was expected to release medium-term expenditure framework under the Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act, FRBM Act, Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. Fine. Now, what is this medium-term expenditure framework? It will tell that how government will reduce deficit and all such kind of things. But government has refused to release this medium-term expenditure framework. Why? Government says that external shocks are high. The government says this particular thing that right now Russia-Ukraine war, USA economy all have been impacted, and we don't know how Indian economy will be able to recover from that. We need to have, we need to right now focus on growth, and therefore we will not be able to control the expenditure in medium term. So therefore, they have not released this medium term expenditure framework under the FRBM Act. Beyond that, nothing is there. Just one line concept. Clear? So that is all. And here you can read the main practice question for today. The vulnerability of urban household to climate change led events need attention in India. Discuss the efforts required. 10 marker question. So that is all, guys, for today. I hope you have understood it. Thank you so much.